My name is Dan Brightwell. I'm the chairperson for the Southfield Veterans Commission. Today is December the 10th, 2008. We're interviewing Dr. Samuel C. Ursu for the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress. Also present in the room is Ms. Ethel Grossman. She's a commissioner with the Southfield Veterans Commission. And also we have Tim Workus, also a commissioner, and Tim is handling the camera work today. Dr. Ursu, could you pronounce your full name and your date of birth?
Samuel C. Ursu, 4/14/32.
Okay. Were you drafted or enlisted in the military?
I enlisted.
Okay. What branch of service?
Air Force.
Air Force. What date did you enlist?
The November 1958.
Okay. All right. What were you doing before you enlisted?
I was a student at University of Michigan, and upon graduation, I had gotten a deferment, and I felt that but for the deferment, which was given in order to allow me to finish my dental training, that I would have been drafted.
Okay.
I had a very good friend who had volunteered for the draft. He was an Air Force pilot, and he was killed in Korea.
Okay.
I didn't feel too good about it, and I thought that I probably should do what I was supposed to do, since I would have been eligible to go in at that time. And so I went in. My brother and I were both in the same class, and we both volunteered for the draft. And he was married, so they refused his enlistment, and they accepted me. And 2 months later, after having spent some time at Gunter Air Force Base and training, learning how to wear a uniform basically in Alabama, I was given orders to Hawaii. And I thought when I enlisted that because I spoke 4 languages that I would be sent to Europe, which was not a bad place to be. It was 1958, it was after the war, and but I was sent to Hawaii, and I thought, well, that's not so bad, being in Hawaii for the extent of my 2-year enlistment. And when I got there, there was a sergeant and who said that I would be given continuing orders, and that I should wait in a selected place, which I did. And about 4 hours later, I got orders to Wake Island. And I thought, well, that's not so bad either. It's going to be in the middle of the Pacific, and it'll probably be warm, and we'll be refueling for aircraft that was going out. And got on a C-124, and after a long flight in a C-124, we got to Wake Island, and it was an island. And there were people in military uniforms, but they weren't like any uniforms I'd ever seen. They were cutoffs, and they were shorts, and it was the middle of the Pacific. And I thought, well, I think I can do this. And there was another sergeant that then came up here and said that your orders will be ready in a short time. And so I wasn't going to stay there. And the next stop was in Tachikawa, Japan. And I thought, this is okay, and this will be really nice. And then another sergeant came to me and said, your orders will be available in about 2 hours. And in 2 hours I got on another airplane, and then the next stop was Kunsan, Korea. And I was the only dentist at this dispensary at K8, and we was a 5th Air Force assignment, and we had fighter aircraft there and a couple of bombers. And the purpose of the base was, in the event that Curtis LeMay, who was our leading general, if we had a a war, which at that time was going on with Russia or any place else, that we'd get the aircraft off, and that was the end of that base.
Okay.
And so the next 13 months I spent at Kusan, Korea.
Okay. And so, sort of backing up just a little bit, how long did it take you to get to K8? It seemed like it was a lot of stops in between there. So was it
2 days?
2 days? 2 days. Okay. Okay.
That's a long time ago.
Sure. Sure.
It's 50 years ago.
Right. Right.
So my dates are maybe a little bit.
Sure. It seemed like a long
Give or
time.
take.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had finished dental school at U of M.
Yes.
And and by the time you had gotten to K8, you were the only dentist there?
I was commander of the dental dispensary.
Oh, okay.
But I was also the only physician there. There was nobody else.
Okay.
We had a lot of people who were from the Second World War
Right.
who were medics, and they taught me a lot. Within a
Right.
very short time that I was there, we had a major fire,
Mhm.
and we had no medical personnel
Sure.
other than the medics from the Second World War. And
Sure.
this was there were 3 of them, and this was their last assignment.
Okay.
And they had been through Normandy, they had been through the D-Day, and they were really outstanding human beings.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I remember telling Master Sergeant that I really wasn't qualified. And the colonel was there, and he had other things to worry about. And I said, I'm not qualified to do this. I just got out of school 2 months ago. And he asked me who else on the base would be more qualified. I said, I didn't think there was anybody. He said, then go ahead and do it. And within a couple of days, there was a major fire. And I remember we had Jim Hayward, who was professor of oral surgery at University of Michigan, had given us a series of lectures on oral surgery. And one of the things that I knew was that if you had a fire, if somebody was badly burned, that they would start bleeding. Gastric bleeding would occur, and you had to insert a Levine tube. I remember getting a Levine tube and inserting it, and was successful, but not because of any skill. And so I learned very quickly that I really didn't know very much. But during the entire time that I was there, nobody ever died while I was taking care of them. Did the best I could.
Sure.
And with instruction from a lot of the medics who knew everything. And when they went in during the Second World War, they knew a whole lot less than I did when I graduated from University of Michigan, which was an excellent institution.
Sure.
And worked together, learned and did. And then we had a physician assigned who came in after I was there. And then basically it was an education for me. I did my job. Went in as a first lieutenant and was promoted to captain.
Right.
And served until it was time to come home. And there were many firefights, there were many people that I took care of. I was not a hero at all, but I took